hope I learned something. I hope I learned something. I hope I learned something from the stormy seas, from the brightest days, from the darkest nights, from the sunny days. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned something. I hope you learned something from the stormy seas, from the brightest days, from the darkest nights, from the sunny
Howdy, howdy. Welcome to the daily All Hat No Cattle News Rodeo. I'm your host, Hat. Nice to see everyone. Welcome to YouTube, Twitch, Trovo, and D-Live, but not necessarily in that order, of course. A lot of news today, good folks. A lot of news. Some really interesting stuff out of China about their warning to Japan as to what would happen if Japan sends one soldier, one plane, one ship out in defense of Taiwan. A very, very distressing video. It has since been taken down from Chinese state media, but it's already gotten over 2 million views on several different platforms. So we'll talk about that. Very, very distressing. And we, of course, have a little COVID news in the after show regarding the White House and Pelosi's office. And a big law and order block. It seems interesting that suddenly Democrat cities are all of a sudden in favor of more policing. Wow, who'd have expected that? No idea. Also in the after show, the funniest looking Glock 19 you've ever seen. And by funny, I mean cute and cuddly and also enraging to some people. We'll talk about that. But first off, let us get to, as we always do, our first Babylon Bee bookend. This is the one on the left, and it closed on me. Once again, OBS hates me. That is exactly where it's supposed to be. There we are. And good afternoon, Twin Crier, of course. So, Babylon Bee bookend on the left. This is from their tech section. Space returns unwanted Amazon delivery. Here we have a funky looking little thing with a graphic in the upper right hand corner that says Blue Origin first human flight. And I didn't know that Blue Origin's logo was a feather, but I guess, the lighter than a feather in space, that kind of thing. What are you going to do? Anyway, Dateline West Texas. Outer Space has returned an unwanted Amazon package that was sent to it unsolicited yesterday. According to witnesses, the package floated gently back down to Earth after being rejected. Locals have asked Amazon to please, quote, pick this thing up and bring it back to the warehouse, close quote, as no one really wants it around or knows what to do with it. If you know who ordered a giant metal gumdrop with 4 dudes in it, please call Amazon immediately. Pretty well sums it up. As always, thank you, Babylon Bee. And now to my personal conceit, the market. It recovered somewhat from the past few days' massive crash, but not enough to make up for its losses. The Dow, S&P 500, and NASDAQ were all up over 1.5% today, still closing well below their previous highs. Crude oil actually recovered a little bit, up just over 1.25%. Still well below $68 per barrel of West Texas Intermediate sweet crude, currently at $67.26. Gold actually retreated a small amount. It still is above $1,800 an ounce, though. Bitcoin is again taking it in the teeth, now well below 30,000. Currently at, I shouldn't say well below, but below 30,000. Currently at 29,883 and change per coin, down a full 3% basically from the previous mark. So if you look at the chart for today, look at the Dow, look at the S&P 500, look at the NASDAQ, you see pretty big climbs all the way across the day. Although the NASDAQ did have a pretty sharp sell-off near the end of the day. But look at their 1 month graphs here, and you can see that just a couple weeks ago, the market was at an all-time high, and then boom, 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 boom. Fell right off the face of the earth. It's true for the NASDAQ. Here's the S&P 500. And here's the Dow. All showing big retreats from previous record climbs. Interestingly enough, our fearless leader, 46 Asterisk, during a news conference just yesterday, said that the market was in record territory, while it was retreating almost 2% from the previous close across the board. Can this guy tell the truth once, even accidentally? Even accidentally. I'd love to see it. I'm open to him telling the truth once, accidentally or not. Just, I'd love to see it. But all I ever get out of this guy and Democrats in general are lies and gaslighting. That's all it is. It's getting really, really old, but it's not going to quit just yet, folks. We've got a long road to hoe. Okay. Starting off with a little media news, as I like to do. I've got a tweet here from Paul Farhi, who shows a list from ComScore over site traffic for different news outlets. And as you can see, they ain't doing so well. Yahoo News and NBC are two of the few that are up at all. And they're up just around 2%. The Huffington Post actually posted a pretty good gain of up a little over 8%. And Time Magazine somehow reached a 14.5% gain. But that is since last month. Since last month. For the year, from June 20th to June of 2020 versus June of 2021, very few of them have shown any kind of gains at all. Interestingly enough, BuzzFeed is one of them, up almost 7%. But that's basically it for the winners. Everyone else is down considerably. The biggest losers are Forbes, down almost a full 61% from last year's traffic. And then ABC News and Time, even though Time showed a recovery from last month, from May to last month, overall year to date, Time has seen a decline of just about 52%, and ABC News has seen a decline of over 55.5%. So very, very bad tidings for major media. Very bad tidings. Even the Wall Street Journal is down close to 20%. So the Trump bump, folks, was a thing, and these people have no idea how to recover. Again, the only outlet up this year over last year is BuzzFeed, up just under 7%. And that's all from ComScore, folks. So the internet gives, and the internet takes away. Now, again, the Amazon story with the Babylon Bee was a good poke at Jeff Bezos, but this is very serious. This is very serious. I've got an article here from the Post Millennium. I did it again, Millennial. I always do that. Pardon me. The Post Millennial, written by Ari Hoffman, one of their great writers. And it lists a bunch of Amazon Kindle titles that are in children's suggestions up front. Up front. Let me show you a few of them. What does it mean to defund the police? And there you have a very colorful book title. Let me blow this up for you. Very colorful book title with all kinds of diverse children reaching out to find out what does it mean to defund the police. Also, we have Racial Justice in America, the same group who put out the previous one. What is the Black Lives Matter movement? And there we see 3 raised fists in various colors. One book that actually deals with something decent is Bots and Bods, how robots and humans work together. And then we get with How to Become an Accidental Activist. And we've got all these rainbow flags and different young people and old people, and, creating a just society. Also, we've got Who is RuPaul? Okay, and again, these are children's titles, folks. City of Water, that's a good one. Beavers, Radical Rodents and Ecosystem Engineers, pretty cool. And then we've got Girl Warriors, how 25 young activists are saving the earth. Also, the Gay Rights Movement from Alternator Books. And along with that, the Civil Rights Movement. Sounds good on the face. It's got Martin Luther King on the cover, but it also has Colin Kaepernick taking a knee in his NFL uniform with a Black Lives Matter banner across the bottom of the title. How in the hell are Colin Kaepernick and Martin Luther King Jr. even close to being in the same universe? One was one of the major voices in pioneering civil rights in America, and the other is a massive grifter who only turned to political statements when his career started falling out from underneath him. Colin Kaepernick has become pretty much an afterthought as of late, but he rode that gravy train for quite a while. We've also got Chelsea Clinton's book, She Persisted in Sports, American Olympians Who Changed the Game. Actually a decent title, although it is promoted for Chelsea Clinton. So yeah, that's the thing, folks. These are all promoted titles for kids, Amazon Kindle's program. What is it? Hang on a second. I forget what it's called. They have a specific program for kids. Shoot, I'd forgotten what it's called. I believe it's called Amazon or Kindle Prime or Kindle Premium. It had it in here, and now I've forgotten it. Please forgive me. But yeah, so that's the thing, folks. Amazon is going after your kids on Kindle. But heaven forbid, Schreier's book on how trans populism is ruining young women's lives, heaven forbid that should be allowed to be published. I would like to welcome Ray and JF. Kindle Fire. No, I don't think it's Kindle Fire, JF. I think that's one of their platforms, one of their physical platforms. But I'd like to welcome them to the D-Live chat. And thank you, Ray, by the way, for being here, because I have reimagined the ending credits for the show. Learning curve is still there, but I've added a little something to the beginning of it that I hope you will all find enjoyable. I would like to make it a permanent feature. I will welcome all of your feedback, but you're going to have to wait till the end of the show to see it. I will not give you any more information than that. Okay, moving right along with maybe something happening good in this country. You guys may remember that some months ago, the Education Department released a proposal for a history and civics grant fund that leaned really heavily on critical race theory and gender theory. It was promoting those two things as part of the grant application. There was a lot of feedback on that, and basically very, very negative. And so now the Education Department is trying to pull back on that. They're not talking about the critical race theory and BLM stuff for the grant program anymore. They've removed that from the application listing. Doesn't mean they aren't still looking for it, but it's no longer on the official Department of Ed website when you apply for those grants. So there is some backpedaling going on here. Let me find an excellent piece of news from this. A group called Parents Defending Children said it had, quote, played a significant role in helping parents and other stakeholders express their concerns, close quote, over the rules of the grant program, and that, again quoting, 11,371 comments, or over 33% of the total number of comments, were facilitated by our comment portal. So sometimes, folks, the will of the people is actually heard. Now, of course, the Democrats are saying that this is all about Republicans distracting constituents, you know, not actually trying to help kids learn, but trying to distract them. Quoting, I'm not even going to quote him. There's a quote in here from Bobby Scott, the idiot from Virginia. I'm not even going to bother quoting him. He's a complete bomb thrower. But this article is archived from the Washington Post, where democracy dies in the you-know-where of Jeff Bezos. But written by one Valerie Strauss, who is quite the idiot, if you've ever read her stuff before. Anyway, moving along to the Epoch Times, an article from Eileen Eng. There was a proposal that came out last year for a new math framework, as they put it, in California, that would go all the way across K through 12. And it would basically completely ruin mathematics as a subject in California schools. It would bring in all kinds of social justice additions to it. What that has to do with math, no one knows. It would make education, quote, equitable. And the way they were going to achieve that was every student had to be at the exact same point in the curricula at the exact same time. If you were an excellent student in math, not only would you not be able to move ahead in the class, you would be denied access to any kind of advanced prep courses. And it would also take away the whole fundamental of mathematics, which is there's a right way and a wrong way. And there's a right answer and a wrong answer. It was insane. Absolutely insane. And people went nuts, rightfully so. And it looks like the California Department of Education is going to, for now, postpone implementing the new math framework. So let me get to this part first, and then I'll give you some background on the previous math framework and how it helped California schools. Michael Scriven says in the YouTube chat, new math equals do not drive on bridges in 20 years. Exactly. Anyway, there was an open letter sent to the Department of Education in California from 500 current and former STEM leaders, educator, business executives, and venture capitalists. And they denounced the new math curriculum, stating it would, quote, de-mathematize math. As I said, the new math framework aims to keep students learning at the same level, citing equity. However, opponents said it would discourage students who speak English as a second language. Also, quoting a person named Joel Haas, or is it Haas? I'm not sure, who's a distinguished professor in the Department of Mathematics at UC Davis, quoting him about the framework, it rejects educational methods for teaching mathematics that evolved from thousands of years of trial and experience and advocates for the replacement by poorly reasoned proposals supported by dubious social science. Continuing the quote, it will lead to a further weakening of mathematical instruction in California schools and diminished mathematical knowledge among California students. So, now you might think, well, maybe things weren't good before, and the California Department of Education was trying to improve math by introducing this new equity system. Maybe it needed some shoring up, and they saw this as the best way to do it. No. There was a new mathematics framework created in 1997 in California. And it prepared all students for Algebra 1 in the 8th grade. After its implementation, quoting the article, students across all ethnic groups saw an increase in math achievement. Quoting the Hoover Institute, while in 1999 only 16% of students took algebra in 8th grade, 4 times as many, or 67%, took it in 2013 by 8th grade. And success rates also increased. So, final action for the math framework has been postponed from November to May 2022. They are probably going to try and wait everybody out and see if they can sneak it in next time around. That's what I'm guessing. I'm always wrong, so hopefully I'll be wrong this time. But it'll be interesting to see exactly how this turns out. Ray says in the D-Live chat, a bee has 6 knees, so the answer is 8. I think that probably would get you a teaching certificate in California, Ray. Okay, an article from justthenews.com, also regarding education. Sometimes I'm able to segue into one story to another without too much effort. And this is beautiful. This is really beautiful. Once again, we're finding out that Americans, for the most part, want America to remain America. They do not believe in all the socialist garbage that's being rammed down our throats by the current administration, by the squad, by the loud and immaterially small left who want to tear this country apart. And a good case in point, not only regarding the story I just did about math in California, and the story before that about civics and history grants coming out of the Department of Education, no longer leaning on critical race theory and BLM dogma to apply. Got a poll from Rasmussen through Rasmussen and JustTheNews.com about schools teaching, quote, traditional values. And you might be surprised to know that the number came out 78% of respondents out of 1,000 voters polled through phone and online questionnaires. 78% of respondents believe it is at least, quote, somewhat important for schools to teach their children, again quoting, traditional values of Western civilization. And this is according to Rasmussen. That's an article from JustTheNews.com by Ava Castelli. Of the 78% that said they believe such teachings are at least somewhat important, 52% said they are, quote, very important. This is a complete rebuke of the leftist indoctrination system that is completely infected K through everything, all the way up through doctorate programs, and science, and government. Americans, don't want this stuff. And we're seeing how vociferously they're fighting against it when you see all these viral videos from various school board meetings where people are losing it. I actually saw a reverse, how am I trying to say it? Let me put it this way. A leftist teacher in West Virginia moved to Virginia because she didn't feel safe in the climate of people demanding that they stop teaching CRT in West Virginia school districts. So good. Get the hell out of here. I'm all for that. We don't need you. Go find a place where you're safe and find out that you're not safe there either, because no one wants it. No one wants it. So good news there from Rasmussen. And a little Catholic news. Where am I without one Catholic story a week? This is good news. But let me give you a little backstory first. Abortion is an anathema to Catholicism. It is the number one no way in Catholicism. In fact, let me read you from Catholic Catechism here. The Code of Canon Law stipulates that those who are, quote, obstinately persevering in manifest grave sin are not to be admitted to Holy Communion. And Holy Communion is, of course, the sacrament where in the Catholic Mass there is the miracle of transubstantiation, where the wine and the bread from the communion are transformed into the blood and body of Christ. That is the concept at the Catholic Mass. Other churches have communion, but they don't believe in the transubstantiation part of it. And communion is a massively important sacrament. And a sacrament is one of the ways that you keep yourself active in the Catholic faith and stay a faithful Catholic. And not getting communion can be a big thing. And we talked about a few weeks ago how the U.S. Council of Catholic Bishops is preparing to publish a letter that will basically tell all U.S. dioceses, it seems like it's going to happen, that if you have a parishioner, especially a parishioner who's a politician, who publicly backs abortion, you are to deny them communion. And that is pretty much close to excommunicating them. If they stop promoting abortion, then they can start getting communion again. But they have to stop. And Joe Biden was once denied communion because of his pro-abortion views. And that came up a couple times during the campaign. And we were told over and over again that Joe Biden is a devout Catholic. No, he's not. You don't back abortion, especially funding abortion with U.S. taxpayer dollars across the world, and call yourself a devout Catholic. It just doesn't work that way. It's a lie. Again, another lie from this president and this administration. So we have another instance of a Democrat Catholic being denied communion And that was from this weekend. The guy's name is Joe Cervantes, and he's a Democratic New Mexico state senator. And he went to Mass Saturday. Some Catholic dioceses have Saturday evening Mass as well as 2 Sunday Masses, early morning and late morning. So obviously Cervantes went to the evening Saturday Mass, and Las Cruces Bishop Peter Baltacino refused him communion. Michael Scriven says in the YouTube chat, I was a music minister in a Catholic church for 7 years. Eagle's wings. Wow. Awesome, man. Awesome. I didn't do a lot in the church. I've got 12 years of catechism, but I've unfortunately forgotten pretty much all of it with my brain damage. It's all gone. But I do remember a couple things. I don't know how to pray the rosary anymore. I've completely forgotten. I have to get back into that. Anyway, enough about me. So Cervantes was denied communion by Bishop Peter Baltacino. And Cervantes went to Twitter and said that this was political. Quoting his tweet, I was denied communion last night by the Catholic bishop here in Las Cruces, and based on my political office. That's how he said it. My new parish priest has indicated he will do the same after the last was run off. Please pray for church authorities as Catholicism transitions under Pope Francis. Okay, first of all, Pope Francis is absolutely destroying the Catholic faith. He is a heretic. He is an out-and-out heretic. He has completely trashed the catechism in a number of ways. I am, in some ways, boycotting the Catholic Mass because of Francis. We need Benedict back. Benedict was good. Francis is a far-left ideologue who doesn't know the rosary from bocce balls. Well, it turns out Senator Joe Cervantes is not only pro-abortion, and we know this because he backed and voted on a law that was later signed into effect in New Mexico decriminalizing abortion. Abortion has been criminalized in New Mexico since the 60s. And they passed Prop 10, I believe they called it, earlier this year that overturned that earlier law. And Cervantes was a big backer of it. So it turns out that Cervantes had been told by his parish priest and by the bishop of Las Cruces that if he kept backing the abortion bill, they were going to deny him communion. Cervantes knew this was coming. He was repeatedly contacted by both offices. He refused to engage in any kind of dialogue. He pushed forward on his pro-abortion agenda, and now he's paying the price. So, there you go. There you go. And a lot of Catholics are saying we need more of this. We need a lot more of this. According to a spokesman from the diocese, the disciplinary action had been taken against Cervantes only after both his pastor and his bishop had privately and repeatedly admonished him to refrain from the sacrament if he intended to vote in favor of Senate Bill 10, which repealed a 1969 state law criminalizing abortions. Supporters of the bill, which Cervantes co-sponsored, and Democratic New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham signed into law earlier this year, argued that the legislation would be a precaution against any further repeal of Roe v. Wade. The spokesman said of the bishop's action, it did not happen on the spur of the moment. So, tough nuts, Cervantes. Tough nuts. You made your bed. Lie in it. And I hope this happens a lot more often. Okay. Moving from state politics to national politics. Something that we all knew last year. Heck, we knew in 2019. Kamala Harris is an idiot. She's a horrible politician. She only got to where she is by playing around with Willie Brown while he was still married. He was separated, had been separated for some time, but he was still married. But Harris was seen palling around with him in different California political circles, hanging on his arm. Much, much, much younger than Willie Brown. And then she got some plum Democrat California political assignments, paying her tons of money. Next thing you know, she's a DA. Next thing you know, she's Attorney General. And she was horrible at everything she did. She was a horrible DA in San Francisco. She was an even worse Attorney General for the state of California. She has a huge track record of criminalizing marijuana and jailing lots and lots of black people for minor crimes. She also criminalized truancy against the parents. If your kid didn't show up to school a few times, she would put you in jail. Yet we're supposed to believe that she's the big proponent of leftist ideals. She was at one time the most radical senator in the Senate. She actually outvoted Bernie Sanders when it came to far left stuff. She was also noted to be one of the worst at bipartisanship. When she announced her run for president, the media fell all over her. Oh my God, she checks all the boxes. She's a smart, strong black woman. She's really going to bring power to the Democrat Party, power to the White House. This is the best thing ever. And then her campaign got off to a somewhat decent start and then completely fell apart. She ran out of money. Staff was quitting left and right. One of her state organizers quit and wrote a scathing letter about how poorly the head campaign office was being run and how horribly they were treating the state coordinators. Massive blow up. Harris ended the campaign in December of 2019 before even one primary vote had been cast. She was third in California in polling for president. Third. She never had a prayer. She got a little bump in media coverage when she called Joe Biden tacitly a racist. That little girl was me, Joe. And then Tulsi Gabbard ripped her to shreds, and Harris just stood there and laughed, had no response. Tulsi Gabbard was, I don't agree with a lot of stuff from Tulsi Gabbard. She's a gun grabber. Other views of hers I do not agree with, but she does have guts. She does have integrity. You have to give her that. And she has gone with her integrity on a number of occasions, and I respect that. Harris, on the other hand, goes wherever the political winds blow her. No pun intended. And she was picked to be the VP candidate specifically because she's a woman and she's black. Even though she's just black by pigment, if you want to go by the American thinking of black, you would think African American. Harris is Jamaican and Indian. And by the way, her family owned slaves in Jamaica. True story. No one talked about that. But she was picked for those two traits, not because she had political savvy, not because she was going to bring strength to the ticket, but because she was black and a woman. And she has done her job as vice president on exactly those terms. That she's a black woman. That's her whole portfolio. She has been given a ton of tough assignments. She's supposed to be in charge of holding the line when it comes to voter laws across the country. I've yet to see her even do one thing coming close to holding the line, except fading a bunch of Democrats who wound up having a super spreader event on a couple of private planes coming out of Texas. Too funny. No masks on crowded airplanes. 6 of them come down with COVID. But we're supposed to believe that President Trump's acceptance of the nomination for his second term, we're supposed to believe that was a super spreader event. Yeah, thanks. No thanks. But Harris has also completely botched the border. She's not even come close to actually visiting where the problem is. She spent 2 hours in El Paso, a friendly Democrat town. She's visited one Golden Triangle country. She's visited Mexico once. She's yet to issue any kind of policy, even regarding her bugaboo that climate change and anti-LGBT sentiment in these countries are what's causing everyone to flee to America. I guess she hasn't noticed that over 130 countries have appeared at the southern border since the beginning of the fiscal year in October. But far be it from me to point fingers. But having a poll here from the Trafalgar Group. The Trafalgar Group is one of the few groups who got it right early and often all last year. And we have a poll. I don't have the breakdown of the people polled, but again, Trafalgar is normally top notch when it comes to this stuff, so I'm going to take this at face value. The question is, based on her performance as vice president, how confident are you that Kamala Harris, or Kamala Harris, whichever, is ready to be president? Very confident, 22%. Somewhat confident, 9.5%, rounding up. Not very confident, 5%. Not confident at all, 58.6%. So you have basically a 63.5% not confident that she could handle being president, as opposed to about 30% that she is, either very or somewhat confident, and only 5% not having an opinion. And she is going to be president if she doesn't get impeached before she takes office. She may not be president long, but she is going to be president, folks. There's no way Joe Biden's going to last till 2024. It's just not going to happen. Sooner or later, the lies and the mental blow-ups are going to catch up with him. It's just a matter of time. You can only hold back a flood for so long. As Dan Bongino likes to say, you can only push the beach ball under the water for so long. Ultimately, it's going to pop up to the surface. CNN, MSNBC, the nightly news on the networks, they're all shedding viewership left and right. Meanwhile, Fox, Newsmax, Tim Pool's Timcast are exploding. Just exploding. And you gotta check out Tim Pool's new site, timcast.com. Become a member. It's becoming my favorite site. I'm starting to go there a little more than I go to Daily Wire. I'm going to be incorporating the Timcast website into the show pretty soon. It's absolutely amazing. Beautiful, on-the-ground, front-up reporting. Plus all the entertainment stuff they've got coming. But, basically, no one in America believes that Harris can handle being president, beyond a very small percentage. Not even 1 in 3 believe she could be president. So, you get what you vote for. All right, Cuba. I've been saying pretty vociferously that we need to get boots on the ground in Cuba. I have got a lot of pushback on that, actually. I've stated so publicly a number of times here on the show, and I've even posted a few comments on pretty popular YouTube videos with that same sentiment, and I've not gotten any pushback. So at least people don't vehemently disagree with me. But one of the things that we can do without putting bullets in guns is restore Cuba's internet. Restore the people's ability to communicate and get news out and coordinate with each other on the ground. That's vital. You need to be able to communicate to keep any kind of movement going. Otherwise, you just have little pockets here and there that ultimately get wiped up by the security forces. It's true anywhere. And people have been saying from the get-go that we need to intervene and get Cuba internet. Well, I have an article here from Breitbart by Robert Kraychik. We have the technology ready and available to do that, and it wouldn't involve any territorial disputes. It wouldn't involve installing any physical structures on Cuba itself. It's fascinating. This is from an interview on Breitbart News Sunday on their Sirius XM channel with Brendan Carr. He's the senior Republican commissioner on the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. That is the group that oversees the entire spectrum of broadcasting in the United States. Not just land wires, but also radio spectrum. And he describes an excellent way that I did not know about. First, let me give you a couple quotes from him. We have the technical capability to circumvent Cuba's internet blockade, and there's two ways we can do it. One, we can introduce new internet connections and services from off-island that can connect directly to the smartphones of the people that are right there in Cuba. That's path one. Continuing, path two is we need to further bolster the technology that allows Cubans to circumvent the blockade on their own infrastructure. So we need to do both of those, and we can do both of those. It's simply a question of, do we have the political will in the Biden administration to give the green light that's necessary for American enterprises to engage in those activities? And here's the way to do it. Again, quoting Commissioner Carr, there's a project that Google started years ago called Google Loon. It's been shuttered as of about 6 months ago for commercial viability purposes, but they launched high-altitude balloons. These are balloons that are 65 to 80,000 feet above the air, I should say above the ground, and they effectively operate like cell sites in the air. And you can put these high-altitude balloons off the coast of Cuba in the international airspace. Carr said the advantage of this technology is you don't need to introduce new infrastructure on the ground. The FCC used such balloon technology to provide internet access and cellular service to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria in 2017, Carr recalled. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. No mess, no fuss. The technology's right there. We don't have to invade anybody's land, and we can get the Cuban people up and running. But it's the will to do it. Because so far, Democrats aren't saying a word about this. Not even a lot of South Florida Democrats are really making a lot of noise. So Biden does not have the push behind him to do anything. The press certainly isn't holding his feet to the fire. Peter Doocy can only do so much. So I don't do this often, but if you can, write your Congress critter, write your senator, and tell them about this interview. Tell them about Google Loon, and tell them to get together, get behind it, and propose this to the White House immediately. Time is of the essence. This could be a game changer. It really could. So we'll have to see. But get to the phones. You can email your Congress critter. It's very simple. Just go do your internet search on my, guy's internet address or email address, phone number. It's very easy to use. Justifiable Freedom says in the D-Live chat, interwebs for everyone. And I would like to welcome Whammer to Trovo. I just now saw you come in. Please forgive me for missing you earlier. I didn't get the notification in my ear that I normally get when someone shows up on Trovo. Welcome to the channel. I hope we make it worth your while. Okay, moving right along. How are we doing on time here? Where's my phone? Oh yeah, we're doing good on time. Okay, so as I teased at the beginning of the show, China put out a video on one of their state-approved TV channels recently. It was also on social media that got millions of views. And it is scary. It is really, really scary. Now, I know that in a number of ways, China is a paper tiger. But they have a very, very strong missile system. Very strong missile system. And they can reach pretty much anywhere. If you can put up a space station, you can land something anywhere else in the world. It's that simple. And there's a lot of worry about anti-ship missiles from China taking out American and Australian fleets if there is an invasion of Taiwan and we try to put up a blockade of warships, things like that. One of the things that doesn't get talked about a lot is China's nuclear capability, beyond people saying, well, they do have it and we worry about it. China said when they first went nuclear that they would, this is China talking, that they would never be the first to use nuclear weapons, and they would never use nuclear weapons on a non-nuclear country. Well, this video changed all that. I'll play you a little bit of it. I can't play all of it, but in the video, it's in Mandarin, but it's in Mandarin, but there are subtitles. But it says this. The article, by the way, from Fox News by Peter Aitken. We will use nuclear bombs continuously against Japan. We will use nuclear bombs first. We will do this until Japan declares unconditional surrender for the second time. This video has footage of the aftermath of the atomic bomb drops on Japan. It also has footage about Japan's transgressions against the Chinese people. They even go back to the Sino-Japanese War, which was in the late 1800s. China refers to that as modern times for some reason. But they do mention the Japanese invasion of China during World War II. 35 million Chinese, approximately, were wiped out by the Japanese. Rape of Nanking, look it up. It's a thing. But this is beyond the pale. The CCP claims that it will, quote, liberate Taiwan, unquote, and warns against Japan deploying one soldier, one plane, or one ship. Now, this is, of course, in response to Japanese officials a couple weeks ago talking about defending Taiwan's autonomy, its sovereignty. And Deputy Prime Minister Taro Aso of Japan said that Japan must, quote, defend Taiwan. Quoting him further, if a major incident happened, it's safe to say it would be related to a situation threatening the survival of Japan. If that's the case, Japan and the U.S. must defend Taiwan together. So, once again, China swings the big stick against anyone who dares to pop up against them. Remember, they're still massively boycotting Australian goods. And the Australian market in China was huge. Beef, wine, all kinds of things. And it's been a real hit on Australia's economy. Just because Australia called for an independent investigation into the release of the Wuhan virus. And that was last year. But here's some of the video.
敢武力干预，哪怕出动一兵一卒、一机一舰作战力量，我们不是对等还击，而是对日本全面开战，首战用核弹，连续用核弹，直到日本第二次宣布无条件投降。我们打击的是日本的战争承受力。
So, lots of military footage. You may have not seen the subtitle, but it said, "We will use nuclear weapons first, and we will use them continuously." So, and as quoting also the video, this is posted, by the way, by Jennifer Zhang, and the video said, "Nuking Japan, quote, will get twice the result with half the effort." So, now let's not forget, China's getting old fast. Their one-child policy lasted way too long, and now they have a bunch of old people without a lot of young people to replace them. They are at least a generation behind when it comes to having a functional economy within the next 15 years, if I'm not mistaken, 10 to 15 years. The vast majority of the Chinese population is going to be out of the work environment and will be receiving benefits. And there will not be enough young people in the workforce to maintain the funding of those benefits. Not to mention, we still don't know the actual death toll in China from the Wuhan virus. They have lied continuously about their totals. News comes out every now and then against new breakouts that have been happening continuously since last year, but actual numbers we don't have. So we'll have to see how that goes. Ray asks in the DLOC chat, would they have been banned if China had said one nuke was from Wuhan? Ooh, wow, yeah. A nuclear bomb leak. Have to think about that, Ray. Okay, unfortunately, I have to end the YouTube block with a very sad story. But I do try to cover the international news when appropriate. You guys may have been aware of a previous story like this one, where you had a family with a young child, in intensive care in a British hospital, and they were basically on life support, and the child needed experimental brain surgery in order to have any shot at all of getting out of that situation. And the surgeons in England are not up to the task. There is a team in the U.S., I believe out of Boston, who can perform the surgery, but the odds of success are pretty small. But there still is a chance. And the National Health Service of Britain was petitioning to pull the plug on the kid, even though the parents were begging to have the child released into their care, and they would pay for everything to get the child to America and get the surgery. Well, it's happening again. There's a family of Hasidim. One parent's American. They're also Israeli citizens. And they have a child, 2 years old, named Alta Fixler, who was born prematurely. An article from the Daily Wire by Amanda Prestigiacomo, by the way. Atla was born prematurely and sustained a severe brain injury. And again, Atla and her parents are Israeli citizens and Hasidic Jews. I'm quoting the Jerusalem Post here from the Daily Wire article. The hospital decided that Atla was, quote, experiencing pain and has no quality of life, and therefore petitioned the British High Court for permission to remove her life support. Numerous pediatric neurologists contest the hospital's position and insist that Alta does not feel pain. Still, the court gave the hospital the unilateral decision-making power over the girl's life. Motivated by the Jewish outlook on the unconditional worthiness of every human life, Alta's parents have made every effort to save her life and vigorously oppose the hospital's intentions. Removing life support is prohibited by Alta's Jewish religion and is against Israeli law. Now, there have been an outpouring of resources offered to the parents, including a free medical flight from an Israeli airline. It would not cost the NHS a penny to release this girl into the parents' care, but they've punted the case right now. So far, the family doesn't know if their appeal is going to be heard, and no date for a hearing has been set. This is state-run healthcare, folks. This is what you get when you let the government make medical decisions. There's no other way to put it. All right, YouTube. Sorry to leave you on such a downer, but that is the end of your part of the show. Please consider joining us on DLive, Trovo, or Twitch. I'm now on Twitch. Just look up any one of those platforms and type in AHNC, short for All Hat No Cattle. You'll find me. Very easy to find. I prefer you come to DLive or Trovo because I understand the microtransaction systems on those well. And no, I still haven't set up the subscriptions on DLive yet. I keep forgetting. One of these days. But YouTube demonetized me months ago, and I can't get any revenue from them. And also on YouTube, you don't get the whole show. But if you come to DLive, Trovo, or Twitch, you get all 2 hours. And you can support the show on those platforms as well. Also, I do cover Trump rallies whenever I can. And YouTube shuts me down if I let Trump speak freely and he mentions the election. They shut me down for a week last time for that. The next time I show a Trump rally, it'll be 2 weeks. And if you want to hear the whole event and not worry about this channel going away for good, then please come to DLive, Trovo, or Twitch. That is the proper thing to do. I'm only broadcasting on YouTube for the first hour to try and bring people to the other outlets. Otherwise, I get nothing from YouTube whatsoever. Not a thing. So please consider that.